I will say because I arrived really at the end of the commission, only 2 days is left. But I was capable to feel that people is getting tired, and it's something that we were able to feel in the room. Chrystia Freeland arrived by walk. I was pretty surprised that she didn't take a car or anything. But she arrived. She was pretty calm, I would say. But it was really interesting to see her in front of really tough question, trying to avoid, or she was saying a lot of different things that was not making sense to, I think, gaining some time to answer to the question. So this is something that we were able to see.
Now, you've chosen 3 clips to look at, and this will be my first time looking at them. These were selected by you and the team there. Your live tweeting events were live streaming the whole proceedings, plus we're cutting video clips during the day. And then at night, we have a wrap-up. There really are a lot of things happening at truckercommission.com. I'm really pleased with it. This first video, clip number 1, is talking about a text exchange with an American owner of a steel company that's based in Hamilton. Let's take a look at this clip and then let's talk about it.
I know it sucks politically to back down and reverse course, but it does really pay to carry on the policy, or does it really pay, to carry on the policy in support of a mandate for a vaccine that doesn't prevent the spread of Omicron and which seems to be vanishing naturally anyway. Moreover, this could create a resurgence of the right wing, just like it did in America. Anyway, I know this is a massive headache for you, but it could be solved by retreating and letting it fade away from everyone's memory. Just sharing my views, hoping the spreading disruption gets resolved quickly.
You know, I think what he says there, and he runs Stelco in Hamilton. He is American, though, and US based. What he was saying at the beginning about onshoring and relocating to the US, that's what I was talking about earlier today. And I kind of highlight that for all of us here, just to kind of make clear to everyone that for people whose bread and butter, whose livelihoods were in the US trade exposed industries, their immediate conclusion, you didn't have to think about it, the immediate conclusion from the blockage of trade was the Americans are going to respond by cutting us out. And then in terms of Alan's proposal, I didn't debate it with him. I don't think that I think that the relevant information for me from him wasn't for him to tell me what the right solution was.
Yeah, because he was saying the obvious. Why are you bringing this vaccine mandate for truckers so late in the game when we all know that the vaccine isn't stopping Omicron from spreading? Why are you doing this political theater? If anything, you're going to radicalize things. I think Alan, who apparently is in charge of Stelco in Hamilton, had some good advice for her, but she wasn't interested in that. The idea that Hamilton's steel factory would shut down and move to America, I mean, that may happen eventually. I have no idea, probably for other reasons, the reasons that other steel plants have closed in Canada, but it absolutely was not affected. There was no blockade in Hamilton. The steel in Hamilton is used in Canada. I think that that's grasping, but let's say she's right. Let's say this trucker convoy would make the owner of that Stelco factory say, I'm going to move it to the United States. So he didn't say that. In fact, he said, what are you doing with your ridiculous vaccine mandate? But let's say her attempt to say, oh, no, this is a threat to trade. A threat to trade is not a listed ground to bring in martial law. Under the Emergencies Act, you have to have one of two things: a threat, a danger to the people of Canada, or a danger to the sovereignty of Canada, like a revolution or an invasion. And part two, this is so important, something that can't be dealt with by regular laws. So a trade dispute that may or may not happen and didn't happen is not grounds. And even if it did, you solve the blockade with regular laws, which it was in the case of the Windsor Bridge. And even if you didn't, even if that Stelco factory moved to the United States, which was not proposed in this text message from Ellen, even if that were to happen, you don't say, well, there's my justification for bringing in martial law. I think Chrystia Freeland is just far too easy to say, yeah, martial law, because my job was difficult for a day. Martial law is the solution.
Mm-hmm. But the blockade was dismantled before they invoked the Emergencies Act, no?
Yeah.
So they have the power to already dismantle some blockade. So that just proved that it was overused to invoke the Emergencies Act, since no blockade was there anymore, and it was only Ottawa that was still up.
Mm-hmm. I think Chrystia Freeland is an ideologue. I think she really doesn't care about civil liberties. She's more used to the global billionaire set. In fact, she wrote a book about billionaires. Before she became a member of parliament, she was actually the official biographer of George Soros, which is, I think, a fact most Canadians don't know but would find interesting. And to this day, bizarrely, I don't even know how it's legal, she's on the board of directors of the World Economic Forum. She doesn't care about things like civil liberties or Canadian sovereignty. She loves the idea of bringing in martial law. And this whole idea of having to answer to the public is something that she doesn't really like one bit. Let me show you clip number 2.
About transparency.
Yeah, and thank you for selecting these clips. I just have a quick summary of them here, but I'm watching them for the first time. This is Brendan Miller, who has been an excellent lawyer, doing some great cross-examinations. Here he is asking, what's the point of an inquiry if the public isn't allowed to see the key documents? Take a look.
I have to say that I disagree with the premise of the question. I think Canada is a very transparent democracy. And in fact, the commission that we're part of right now is a part of Canadian transparency.
Right.
That's why it's important.
And on that point, if I told you that there is a whole bunch of unlawfully redacted documents that we've been fighting over and we're waiting for an order just to get them today, and we haven't had them for this whole proceeding, do you think that's transparent?
Again, and with apologies, I can't agree with the premise of the question. I think that, but what I can say is, I think that the fact that this commission exists, that these hearings are being held, that they're public, is really important for Canada and is a measure of Canadian transparency.
Well, there's some truth to that, but the Commission of Inquiry doesn't work if it can't get access to documents, and it's not very much a public inquiry if the documents are not made public because Trudeau blacks them out.
And it's really funny because during her testimony, they show a document, but it was just a black square, a giant black square, because everything was hiding. So where is the transparency when we see some document look like that? She claimed that there is no lack of transparency on Canadian citizen. I'm sorry, but when we see the document coming back from the government, it just shows that there is like a really big lack of transparency if you don't want to show the information and to hide the information from the population.
What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday, I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, you also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because We rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.